Okay, we'll pick it up the media availability with Tony Stewart, driver of the number 14 Office Depot Mobile One Chevrolet. Tony, 2 wins here at Martinsville. No, we haven't gone out on track yet, but what is your outlook for the final short track of the season?
I'm excited about it. We're hoping we're going to get to do like the truck guys are here in a little bit and get on track, obviously. So, we're running a little different package than what we're used to, so we're really anxious to get on track today. So, hopefully this weather looks like there's a little bit of a cell coming through. Hopefully if it hits, they'll be able to get it dry in time for us to get on track.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Raise your hand. State your name and affiliation. Kenny?
Kenny Bruce, SingDaily.com. Tony, you guys, you'll run a different package a lot of times. Why are you concerned or hopeful that this change today will make such a difference?
Well, we've struggled here the last 2 or 3 races, so we definitely needed to look outside the box of where we were at and try to come up with something different. We're actually, relying on our teammate and kind of starting where Ryan typically does here. So, Ryan's driving style and mine are different, so we're real anxious to get on track to find out what I'm going to need different than what Ryan likes, but start with his package in general and hope that it's going to be better. So it's quite a bit different than what we actually run, so that's why it's so important for us to get on track today, just to get an idea of what we're working with and what we're going to have to do to adapt his setup to the way I drive the car.
So it's basically just a base for you guys to work off of, but you'll make changes to it to adapt it.
Right, yeah, we're using it for a starting point, and then we'll have to, every driver's driving style is different, the way they brake, the way they get in the gas, so we're going to have to make changes to accommodate what I like off of that setup.
Anyone else for Tony? Mike over here on the right.
Mike Mulhern, MikeMulhern.net. You were obviously very outspoken on the Talladega race. Daytona's coming up in just a couple of months, I guess, and I presume you're going to start building cars and everything. NASCAR's hopefully going to change the rules. You're going to hope they change the rules. They want to change the rules. What do you suggest they do, and what do you think they can do, and is there anything they can do?
Well, I think they're a smarter group than us. They've been doing this for 60-plus years, so, everybody's got an idea, but the thing is, every time somebody's come up with an idea, there's a opposite reaction to how it affects something else. So it's a hard balancing act, and it's something that NASCAR, I've got the faith in NASCAR that they're going to figure out what's the right thing to do. But it's a little bit tough situation to have to go through. It's starting to get way too political on the racetrack now, and that's not the scenario you want to be in as a driver to try to decide a championship.
Are they going to come to you as a driver and ask you?
I don't know. You have to ask them if they're going to come ask us. If I thought I had a great idea, I would go to them. I think we're all in this together, and everybody wants it to be better. So, it's not about whose idea is and who comes up with it. We just want the end result. So, I've got the faith that they're working on it hard, and they're looking at everything that they can do, and they've got a lot of pretty smart people that have been there for a long time that have figured out how to make it right. So, if we can come up with a great idea, I'd love to go to them with it. I just don't have that idea. There's a lot more drivers in this garage area that are smarter than me that can probably figure it out before me.
And Jim?
Jim Undershaw Observer. Tony, you just said that it was a lot more political out there now. Do you think that's due in large part to the two-car drafting? Is it become more apparent because there's only 2 people working with each other during the race?
I definitely think so. When you've got multi-car teams, and then you saw a distinct deal last weekend of manufacturers running with each other. It's becoming more apparent of what's going on. You can talk to everybody you want to talk to, and everybody's going to say, no, they're not doing this, or yes, they're doing this. But all you got to do is pause your TV with the field in there and look and see, and it pretty much tells the story of what's going on. So, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out how it's evolving that way because of the 2-car draft.
Dustin?
Dustin Long, Landmark Newspapers. In relation to that, you've been in the sport a long enough time, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you first came in, 99, 2000, that there was that kind of political football at these plate tracks, maybe not in this style, but manufacturers talking about this and that, and hey, this guy's got this guy's that. So, in what ways, or how is it different, or is it just kind of getting back to what it once was when you talk about that? Can you kind of
I
compare
think
and contrast?
when I started, I mean the political games were the teams when they went to their stricter plate tracks they tried to not show their hand till race day, and then NASCAR got chassis dynos and things that they could pull after the race and pull those cars and figure out exactly what was going on, so that gave NASCAR a more accurate assessment of what the situation really was, where this is something NASCAR really can't control once the cars go on the racetrack, and what the drivers are doing, and how they're pairing up, and is it because of manufacturers, or is it because of individual organizations. So it's hard for NASCAR as a sanctioning body to control that and have everybody just racing.
Claire?
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Tony, it's kind of a wild idea, but if NASCAR wanted to stop the tandem draft, if they stopped allowing drivers to talk to each other, which creates this political conversation thing, would that solve it, or would that just create more trouble?
I don't know that it would create more trouble necessarily, but guys before they even got to the racetrack on Friday knew who they were going to be running with. I would say probably 90% of the field knew who they were going to be drafting with once they got there. So, I don't think that's necessarily the answer. The answer is make it to where you can't push each other, and if you can physically somehow keep the cars from pushing each other like it used to be, then that eliminates the problem. You're not going to keep guys from running with whoever they want to run with on the racetrack, but if you can keep the cars from actually making contact with each other and physically pushing each other, that's the logical way to solve it.
Go Hank, then Monty.
Tony, we've had guys in here today talking about in the championship chase, some guys want to do everything strictly by the book and by the rules, and some guys say whatever you can get away with, they're cool with. Kind of where do you stand on that, and as a guy who's won 2 championships?
I think racing's always been about taking the rules that you're given and pushing the envelope and pushing it to the limit, but don't, in my opinion, don't go over it. And penalties, and NASCAR's done a good job of making sure the penalties reflect the crime. And, I think if you're willing to take the risk, if you're willing to put yourself and your team and your organization in that position and you get away with it, great. But I just don't see, I don't see the risk and the reward being even. You give up an awful lot if you get caught trying to fudge something that's this much better and that can take you out of a chance to win a championship.
Did your eyebrows go up at all when you heard about this Chad Jimmy thing last weekend? Or is that just smart business?
I don't know. I actually just found out about it getting ready to watch truck practice start. I saw it scrolling across the bottom of the page and asked Darian about it, but I don't know. I'd like to hear it. It'd be an interesting transmission to have heard.
Monty?
Monty Dutton, Gaston Gazette. Tony, when you're picking partners, are you more concerned about a guy who's really good in the draft, a guy who you can depend on, or is it just a gut instinct? How do you pick who you want to race with?
I think in the past we ran with David Gilliland a lot, and I think a lot of that was, Ryan's approach to how to run the plate races versus what I like to do has been polar opposite. He likes to get to the front and try to stay at the front all day. I'm a guy that's always liked to get to the back, take care of it, try to stay out of a bad situation at a point that really doesn't matter in the race, and then late in the race make that charge. And I did the opposite this past weekend. We tried to stay up front as much as we could, but that's why Ryan and I didn't work together. So in answering your question, looking for somebody to run with, you look at who's really available. You knew the 400 cars were going to get together. You know the Childress cars are going to get together. You try to find somebody that you think's available, and then try to find somebody that has the same mindset that you have about how you want to run the race, and then somebody that you feel comfortable with at the same time. So it's kind of I guess the first thing was find somebody that wants to run the race the same way I do first, and then, out of that group, sorting out who you're comfortable with.
Just to follow up a little bit. At the end of the race, are you sort of getting where, like say, I heard Jeff Gordon offer, so feel some loyalty toward the guy who's been with you all day?
Yeah, I mean, we had Paul Menard offer to run with us when we were running with the 20 car, and the logic says, okay, well, you know, it's Joey's car's tore up, but we ran good with Joey, and it's like, you know, then if we do that, we're hanging Joey out, which Joey didn't deserve that. So Paul, when he asked me, I said, you know, I've kind of been running with the 20 car, and I'm comfortable where I'm at right now. He goes, okay, if anything changes, let me know. Fair enough. And same thing with Jeff later on. At that point, I was with the 27 car, and Jeff came on the radio and asked, and I said, you know, I've kind of been running with the 27 car here. So to me, it was more the loyalty at that point. I mean, obviously, I mean, I'd love to have ran with Jeff, obviously, because of our association with Hendrick. But, you know, after you've run that long with somebody during the day, you hate to just dump them off with a 2-lap restart and leave them by themselves and to pick somebody else up. I mean, there's maybe some guys that are willing to do that. I just don't feel comfortable doing that.
Okay, we have time for one more. Anyone else for Johnny?
Mike Muller again. Homestead, I'm looking at as being a Roush track with Matt and Carl probably having a slight edge. Do you look at that as sort of like you got to have enough points to figure that they're probably going to finish first, second, or top 5, or do you figure Homestead is just as good for you?
I think it's an equal opportunity. I mean, you know, I feel like our mile-and-a-half stuff's been pretty good this year, and we've gained on it a lot, I think. So, you know, I'm looking forward to going back there, honestly. But, you know, I guess I still look at it from the standpoint we got 4 weeks to get it done, and, you know, we have to be spot on for 4 weeks. And you know, even if we win the next 4 races, if they ran second, I think they could still probably win the thing mathematically. So it's not really so much in our hands. It takes the pressure off of us. We can just go out and try to win the races, and it's more in their hands of having the pressure, trying to figure out what to do and where to finish and all that. But you know, they have been very good there in the last couple of years, and it's something you know going into it. But you know, I've been to tracks where we were great the last time and then come back a year later and not be able to hit it at all. So you know, anything can change.
All right, last one over here.
Eddie Harmon with BTW. Tony, you're obviously in the thick of this thing with this points, and pretty much everybody that's come through this media center, they really weren't sure of who's in second or who's in third or who's in fourth and how many points, but pretty much everybody that's walked through here wanted to know where you were. Everybody wanted to know where Tony was. How do you feel about that? And is there anyone within the group that's left that mathematically has a chance to win that you're looking at every week with four races to go?
I've said it from day one. I'm only focused about one car out there right now, and that's the 14 car. You know, obviously we want Ryan to do well, but Ryan, you know, we messed him up last week, and that hurt his chances. But right now I'm focused on my car and my car only. I'm not spending the energy and the time worrying about everybody else. If I got that much time, my car better be perfect. If I got that much time to concentrate on everybody else, so you know, I think in the last 31 years of racing, I've always worried about what we're doing and controlling the variables that we can control. But it's nice to know they're asking about us and wanting to know where we're at. That's a pretty good compliment, I think.
Last one for real this time, Johnny.
You're just like a photographer. One more.
Hey, Tony. Johnny Buck with the Martinsville Bulletin. I'll get you out of here on a lighthearted question. If you were going to a NASCAR-themed Halloween party, you could dress up as a current or former driver, team owner, etc. What would your costume be and why?
This may take a second. I'm not going to go as one of the Bush brothers. Not because I don't like them, just because I'm not sure that it's a popular. I'd probably pick one of the beer sponsor drivers. At least I'd have something that would match my can. So that's the only thing I could think of right offhand. I've never been to a Halloween party yet that we haven't enjoyed adult beverages during the evening, so at least it would match. That's the only thing I can think of.
Thanks a lot, Tony. Appreciate it.